Jade Chapter 2, Shadows of Betrayal. During the early years of her life under the guidance of wise mentors, Jade dedicated herself to understanding the history of her ancestors, a lineage steeped in magic and sacrifice. She was raised among the ancient texts and stories passed down through generations, learning not only about the strengths of those who came before her, but also their failures and weaknesses. It was a legacy defined by their enduring struggle against Grimlore, the malevolent force that had haunted their realm for centuries, and the legendary power of the crystal. As Jade learned to harness the forces of nature, manipulate magic, and even bend reality itself, she felt both awe and fear. The more power she accumulated, the more she realized how small she once was in the grand tapestry of fate. All of this was to prepare her for the monumental challenges that lay ahead. She understood, in her heart, that her destiny was intertwined with the fate of her people. The weight of this knowledge pressed heavily on her shoulders, and there were days when she questioned whether she could bear it. In ancient times, Grimlore had been one of the revered wizard fairies, standing alongside Brayson, the earth wizard, Lethifion, the wind wizard, and Rosaline, the water wizardess. Together, they formed a formidable alliance, sworn to protect the crystal, the life source of their realm, from the creeping shadows of dark forces. The crystal was more than just a powerful artifact. It was the heart of the connection between humans and the fairy folk, bestowing magic, healing, and longevity upon all. However, as time passed, Grimlore's noble heart darkened, twisted by his ambition and growing thirst for power. His lack of compassion and devious deeds began to alienate him from his fellow wizards. Resentment simmered beneath the surface, growing into an insatiable hunger for control. It weighed on the others, but no one felt the gravity of his betrayal more than Rosaline. She had once trusted Grimlore, had believed in the unity of their purpose, but as his actions became more ruthless, her heart filled with sorrow. And yet even then, there was still a hope in her that they might bring him back from the brink. But it was not to be. Grimlore devised a dark spell, tapping into forbidden energy drawn directly from the crystal. As its once vibrant green light started to dim, the other wizards grew alarmed. They noticed their own strength weakening and realized the crystal was in peril. There was a quiet, unspoken fear among them. If Grimlore could do this, what else was he capable of? In a desperate bid to safeguard the realm, they arranged a marriage between Brayson and Magentine, a human woman. They hoped their firstborn would inherit extraordinary powers, strong enough to shield the crystal from Grimlore's dark ambitions. Zaron, their firstborn son, and Magnol, his younger sister, were born of this union. Grimlore, using his mastery of clairvoyance, watched the wizards' plans unfold. He saw their efforts through the dimming light of the crystal and understood the threat their alliance posed to his growing influence. In response, he devised a sinister plan of his own. With a wave of his hand, Grimlore cast a dark spell, twisting the soul of Zaron, warping the boy's pure heart into one of malice. The innocent child, once filled with promise, was consumed by bitterness. Rosaline, sensing something amiss, had tried to reach Zaron's heart, but her efforts were in vain. Shortly after his 12th birthday, Zaron betrayed his family. Overcome by Grimlore's malevolent influence, he murdered his father in cold blood, unleashing terrible spells on anyone who dared to oppose him. Clutching the crystal beneath his cloak, he fled to Grimlore's lair, retreating into the dark depths of Mount Tenebra. With the balance of the natural elements in jeopardy, and only 3 wizards remaining, Brayson, Lethifion, and Rosaline, they knew action was needed. Recognizing Magnol's potential, they anointed her with the fire element, despite her being born of the earth. Magnol, a fierce and compassionate wizardess, embodied a unique blend of human insight and mystical power. Yet, as the flames of her new element coursed through her, she couldn't help but feel the gravity of her role settling like a weight upon her chest. She had been chosen to carry a burden none of her kin could comprehend, a fate bound by both the fiery power she now wielded and the earth from which she had been born. Magnol often wondered whether she could truly live up to the expectations placed on her. Her human side gave her insight into the complexities of the heart, but the magnitude of what lay ahead, facing Grimlore, confronting her brother's betrayal, leading an army, left her with doubts. She knew she had to be strong, but in quiet moments she questioned if she was strong enough. Yet the wizards were acutely aware that time was running out. Their powers were fading, and Grimlore's ambition was rising. They needed to act swiftly. A powerful alliance was formed, a diverse army of elves, brownies, hobgoblins, pixies, dryads, and even humans who had aligned themselves with the fairy folk in this noble cause. At the forefront stood Magnol, her heart pounding with the weight of responsibility. She could sense both fear and hope in the eyes of her comrades as they prepared for the confrontation that would decide their fate. The army soon discovered the entrance to Grimlore's lair, a cavernous chamber deep within Mount Tenebra. The air was heavy with the stench of decay, and distant whispers echoed through the tunnels, as if the very walls mourned the souls lost within. Led by Jarithian, a fearless commander, the fairy army surged forward, determined to reclaim their world from Grimlore's dark grasp. While the battle raged, Lethifaon and Rosaline navigated the decaying tunnels, searching for Grimlore and, most crucially, the crystal. But Grimlore, anticipating their move, had given Zaran the crystal, instructing him to carry it to safety. Zaran, torn between Grimlore's manipulation and his own deeply buried sense of right and wrong, moved through the tunnels with dread. The weight of the crystal hung heavy around his neck, its flickering light a reminder of the boy he once was, now lost to the darkness. As Zaran crept through a narrow passage, Lethifaon sensed his presence. With icy resolve, the Wind Wizard lay in wait. The moment Zaran emerged into the cavern, Lethifaon struck swiftly, plunging an ice blade into Zaran's heart. The boy crumpled to the ground, and the crystal slipped from his fingers, landing at Lethifaon's feet. At that moment, the battle's tide turned. The fairy army secured victory, and a grand celebration, the Conquering Festival, was held to honor the return of the crystal and those who had sacrificed everything to protect it. The crystal was returned to its rightful place within Green Mountain Cove, safely guarded against future threats. However, as they caught a fleeting glimpse of Grimlore retreating into the shadows, they knew this victory was only temporary. His threat lingered like a dark cloud, promising further chaos. In time, the once great leaders, Brayson, Lethifaon, Rosaline and Magnol, departed from this realm, embarking on their journey to the next life. But before they left, they carefully selected the next generation of leaders, as was the tradition passed down through the ages. Each leader was chosen with precision and care by their respective elemental wizards. Goldrun, the Earth Fairy Wizard, with his unyielding strength. Phaon, the Wind Fairy Wizard, whose speed was unmatched. Rostal, the Water Fairy Wizardess, with wisdom as deep as the sea. And Loxia, the Fire Fairy Wizard, with flames that could either destroy or inspire. This sacred process of selection ensured that the new generation was equipped with the strength and connection to the elements needed to face the challenges to come. And so, in the dawn of this new era, a new generation of warriors rose. Jared, strong and determined. Destin, clever and resourceful. Bravely, whose courage inspired all. Ilona, with her deep compassion. And Lama, whose heart burned with unyielding hope. Together they would stand against Grimlore once more. But this time they had Jade, armed not only with the knowledge and magic of her ancestors, but with something more. Born under mysterious circumstances, her jade green eyes seemed to hold secrets even the elders could not fully comprehend. There was a power within her, unlike anything they had ever seen, a quiet intensity that hinted at a destiny far greater than anyone could predict. It was this quiet, almost unnerving strength that made them believe that, with her among them, they could finally bring an end to Grimlore's dark reign. Yet, as much as they trusted her, they remained vigilant, for the same strength that could save them all might also make her vulnerable to Grimlore's influence, should he seek to turn her to the dark. And as Jade felt the growing power within her, she knew the battle ahead would not only be against Grimlore, but also within herself, for whichever path her magic took, light or dark, would determine the fate of the world.